What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And today I got my Baltimore Ravens season preview for y'all. So let's hop into it. So last year they finished with a 10-7 record, which was good enough for second in the AFC North, and it clinched them a wild card spot, which they would go on to lose the wild card game to Cincinnati 24-17. So kind of disappointing, but hey, at least they made the playoffs. And they did bring in a decent amount of help, a lot of weapons for Lamar Jackson. I know they finally got his extension done, so they have him locked up. But they brought in wide receiver Nelson Aguilar. They brought in wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., which, he knows the AFC North. He played for the Browns for a couple of years. He knows how that division works. So I think this is definitely a good veteran wide receiver signing for the team. They also brought in wide receiver Laquan Treadwell. They brought in cornerback Rocky Sin. They brought in running back Melvin Gordon. So they're definitely bringing in solid quality players to help bolster this roster and ultimately compete for an AFC North title, which I know the division is going to be tough. You got Cincinnati, who's the cream of the crop right now in that division. You got Pittsburgh, who just never fades away, always around 500 or above. You got Cleveland, which they have potential. Cleveland has potential. We'll just put it at that. So they didn't lose too many players compared to how many they got. They did lose cornerback Marcus Peters. They did lose defensive end Calais Campbell, linebacker Justin Houston, wide receiver Sammy Watkins, cornerback Kyle Fuller, running back Kenyon Drake. So a lot of veteran guys who did play a solid role in this team in years past, but they did bring in good, decent guys to replace those guys. So I do think it kind of balances out pretty well for the team. And the big staff change that they had was they did get a new offensive coordinator in Todd Monken, and he is, the air raid guy, airing out the ball. And I do think that is obviously the reason that they went out and got a lot of good wide receivers, Nelson Aguilar, Odell Beckham, Treadwell, you name it. They also drafted them, but I'll get into that in a minute. So yeah, I definitely think it'll be kind of like a change of pace of how we see the Ravens play this year. I know they were more of like a run first team that kind of sets up the RPO, let Lamar Jackson kind of go out and do his thing, let him be the star vocal point of this offense. I do think it'll still be like that. I do think there's still going to be a decent amount of RPO, but I do think they are going to try to stretch the field more through the air rather than on the ground running. So I definitely think it'll be interesting to see how that works out for the Ravens. Maybe it'll be shaky at first, maybe not. Either way, definitely interesting to see. So moving on to their rookie class of this year, in their first round, their first pick of the draft, they got wide receiver Zay Flowers. Once again, just kind of laminating that point of, they're going to switch to an air raid offense under Todd Monken. It's what he's known for. It's what he does. So they're stacking up on wide receiver talent. They got linebacker Trenton Simpson out of Clemson. Definitely think he could make an impact on that defense, maybe a little bit later than sooner, but still a definitely good developmental piece that they got in the draft. They got linebacker Tavius Robinson, cornerback Kai Blue Kelly, offensive tackle Melisal. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. It'll be on the screen. You'll know exactly which one it'll be. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. And then offensive guard Andrew Voorhees. So they definitely addressed areas of need, got a lot of depth players. They also re-signed guys like long snapper Nick Moore. And I know a lot of teams re-sign their long snappers this offseason or sign long snappers. And I don't really make a point of it in any other team's video because they have the best kicker in the league in Justin Tucker. I think the long snapper position for them means a lot more than somebody whose kicker may be shaky and it just doesn't mean as much. So when you have Justin Tucker, you need to have the players around him that let him do what he does. They also got re-signed running back like Justice Hill, QB Tyler Huntley, quarterback Lamar Jackson, which, he got his money. He got locked down. So they got their starter. We have their schedule and my record prediction for the Ravens. And so in week 1, they have the Houston Texans. And let's just be honest, I see little to no chance that the Texans can beat the Ravens, especially with a rookie QB and CJ Stroud. So that is definitely going to be a win for the Ravens. And then week 2, they have the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati. And this is definitely an interesting game. I know Joe Burrow just had that calf injury in training camp a couple days ago. So if the Bengals hold him out all of preseason and he doesn't really get any game time snaps until the regular season against Cleveland in week 1, I could see there maybe being a little bit of tough sledding, a little bit of rust being knocked off in those first couple of weeks. So this game could really go either way. But because it is in Cincinnati, and because I doubt the injury will have too much effect on Joe Burrow, whether if this game was week 1, I would give it to the Ravens all day. But because it's week 2, I do think, and it being in Cincinnati, I will say it's an L for the Ravens. But it's okay because in week 3, they can bounce right back with a win over the Colts. And then in week 4, they're on the road in Cleveland. And Cleveland's one of those teams where they could be great, they could be bad. But I do think the Ravens will probably split with the Browns. They've kind of split the last few years. And so I'll give them this week 10 matchup against the Browns, which is in Baltimore. So I'll give them a win right there, but I'll give them a loss to the Browns here early. So, and then they play the Steelers, and the Steelers, to me, are a shell of what they used to be. So I think the Ravens could probably pretty easily handle them regardless. And then they travel to the UK to play Tennessee. And this is another one where they kind of Baltimore and Tennessee have had some very good matchups these past few years, and I feel like this game is going to go to whoever is the healthiest. Say something happens to Lamar Jackson and it's Huntley playing quarterback, Tennessee wins this all day. But say something happens to Derrick Henry and Tennessee's without him, their best offensive player, this could go to the Ravens. So either way, because this is a Ravens video, and what the heck, we'll give them the win here. And then next week, the week 7, they played the Detroit Lions. And I'm high on the Lions, so I think this will definitely be a win for the Lions and a loss for the Ravens. But it's okay because they rebound the next week against Arizona, who, hey, go check out that video. And then they play Seattle at home. And this is another one of those close games where it could be a win, could be a loss. But I'll give I don't know. I think this is just a game where Seattle just catches them maybe at the right time. Baltimore maybe makes too many mistakes. Like that game could flip flop either way. And we already talked about the Browns thing. We think they're going to split. Then they go Thursday night football against the Cincinnati Bengals. And if Joe Burrow is fully healthy at this point, I definitely think the Bengals will win. So I actually have them getting swept by the Bengals, believe it or not. And then they play the Chargers, which I just think are a better team than them, and they lose again. So we're sitting here at week 13 is their bye week, and they are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-6 is their bye week, so they're playing 500. They lose some games that they probably could have won. They won some games that they probably could have lost. So I don't think this is too far out of the reach. But then coming out of their bye, they have the Los Angeles Rams, which I definitely think this will be a win for the team. They then have the Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think will be a very good team this year. So I think it's going to be another loss for them right here. And then they have the 49ers, which I think will be another loss, believe it or not. And then the Dolphins is another one of these games where I feel the Dolphins could very easily win it, but I also feel the Ravens can very easily win it. Like this Dolphins game, this Seahawks game, this Titans game, you could even throw the Jaguars, Chargers, and 49ers. These are all games that could really go either way. It just depends on how the team is playing at that time of the schedule. This game could really go either way, but I'm going to give the Ravens the benefit of the doubt because a lot of the close games, I have them losing, like to Jacksonville, to the 49ers, to the Chargers, to Detroit, to Seattle. So they definitely need a break in some. So the Dolphins, they get a break. The Titans, they get a break. And then they finish up with the Steelers. And I definitely think they will beat the Steelers. They will sweep the Steelers. So they split with the Browns. They sweep Cincinnati. Well, they get swept by Cincinnati, my bad. And then they sweep Pittsburgh. So they finish with a 3-3 divisional record, which, hey, it's still respectable. And that brings their season total to what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they go 9-8 in this prediction. 9-8. That was horrible, but oh well. 9-8. And I definitely think this is in the realm of possibilities for this team. I think they'll probably do better. I think their ceiling's probably around 12 wins, but they got a lot of tough matchups. Like this isn't an easy schedule. Like their easy games is like, okay, they got one in Houston, one in Indianapolis, one in Arizona. I think this Rams one's kind of easy. So they got like four games on this schedule where I'd say, yeah, they're guaranteed to win. Like you're not guaranteed to beat Cincinnati. You're not guaranteed to beat Cleveland. You're not guaranteed to beat like a lot of these teams. So I think their ceiling, like I said, is probably around the 12 win mark. Their floor probably being close to kind of where I have it, maybe a win or two less. So will go 8-9, 7-10, around that realm, depending on how healthy Baltimore plays. But let me know what you think. Do you think like this is pretty accurate? Like, could you actually see this happening? Do you think I'm just talking complete nonsense and you think there's no way that Baltimore could ever have this record and finish towards the bottom of their division? Let me know what y'all think. Like the video, subscribe. Wait for your favorite team's video to come out so you can judge that video and make fun of me. It don't make any difference to me. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. And hey, have a good day. God bless.